Right, what we've got here is a something a bit different. This is a Lane's Musketeer. These are a very early air rifle, predating the BSA's underlevers. And actually, very interesting air rifle, because there's a lot of, even though they're made or stamped up as Lane's, a Lane's product, nobody seems to think that Lane's actually made them. It looks as though Lane's got other air rifle manufacturers to produce them for them, and that they sold them. And there's a couple of hints about who that manufacturer may well have been. So what we've got is a standard break barrel rifle with a lever lock, a bit like the old Weihrauch type HW35 type things. So you push the lever backwards and it disengages a bar that runs underneath. There's a bar in there, spring-loaded bar. And when you push it forwards, it releases the barrel. And when you bring the barrel back up, it re-engages a bar in the slot of the barrel. Now, the interesting thing about this rifle is that these were fitted with the Greener trigger mechanism. Now, Greener patented this in the era of the gem air rifles to make a better trigger than the old gems. And what it's got like a two-horned system inside of here on a little cam that locks into the piston, and it gives you a much crisper and much smoother and more precise let-off. In fact, the trigger's so good that even now this trigger's probably on a par with some of the better triggers that are available on modern air rifles. It's a very, very predictable, smooth trigger. Very good. So it's got the pattern number on it, which is number 9644. And then that's the serial number of this rifle. So this is number 341. So this is quite an early Musketeer. So the trigger was patented by Greener. And the other hint that these could have been made by Greener, there's a couple of things that point to the fact that it could have been made by Greener. The other one is, if you look at the breech has got a very greenerish look about it. The Greener camback and the Braidlin Armory air rifles have a very similar breech design to this. Almost identical, actually, when you look at it. Now, it is stamped on the top. I don't know whether you can see it in this light, to be honest, but it is stamped on the top. It says, let me try and get the light right, there you go, that's better. So it says Lane Brothers, London, and then it's got British made stamped on it. And then on the barrel, again, I'm struggling with the light a bit here for some reason, but it says Musketeer. So you've got Musketeer on the barrel. And the Lane Brothers writing on top of the breech. Now, the other thing that makes me think that these perhaps were made by Greener is the barrel itself, because the barrel is sleeved again. If you look, there's an inner barrel, an inner core of the barrel, and then an outer core of the barrel, exactly the same as on the Braidlin Armory Greener, and exactly the same as on the camback Greeners. And there is one other perhaps clue that this was made by Greener, and that's the lack of checkering. At the time, it was quite common to have either pressed or hand-cut checkering. All the BSAs, or the early BSAs, had it, either hand-cut or pressed. The Midland Gun Company Demon rifles had it on. And it was quite common to have either pressed or hand-cut checkering, but Greener didn't like checkering. And none of the Greener air rifles, the camback or the Braidlin Armory one, none of them had checkering on them. So this has got no checkering either. So you've got a couple of clues. You've got no checkering on the stock. We know that this was a Greener design and a Greener patented trigger. You've got the very greenery looking breech and the lined barrel like you get on the Braidlin Armoury one and on the greener Cambacks. So you've got to wonder whether this air rifle was in fact made by Greener, or were the barrel, breech and triggers made by Greener and other bits by other people. There was a suggestion that it was made by the Midland Gun Company, possibly, but no one's ever going to know for sure. So the actual rifle itself, really sweet. It's got a lovely little trigger mechanism on. This trigger's brilliant, really nice, especially when you think of the age of this. This is a sort of 1903-ish, 1905-ish dated air rifle. And as I say, this is a really early one. This is only 341. That number is also stamped on the underside of the breech. If I can find it, it's on here somewhere. There it is down there. 41 stamped on there. So this is quite an early one. Sights, pretty standard for the time. Fixed, you can drift it in the dovetail, but no height adjustment. And a pretty standard bead foresight. This is a 177 caliber. And it's a nice rifle to shoot, very sweet to shoot. That trigger's really good. It's fairly low powered, probably only about 6 or 7, well, about 6 foot-pounds I think this one's giving. So it's not a high powered air rifle by any stretch of the imagination. It's got a metal butt pad. Quite a nicely figured stock on this one. Nice bit of figuring here on the stock. The other side's a bit plainer, it has to be said. It's not the most glamorous piece of wood on a rifle. But overall, quite a nice gun. It's also a smooth bore. Apparently they did make, or there are some rifled ones around. But this particular one is a smooth bore. So there is a very, very, very early British air rifle. The Lane's Musketeer. Lovely old thing. Great trigger. That trigger's really good. Really unusual looking thing, the way it hangs down below the rifle.